Screenwriter.com and the director of the Portland Comedy Film Festival. And I'm joined today by screenwriter Scott Branan, who's in the fall 2022 competition. His screenplay is nominated for the Best Romantic Comedy Screenplay Award. And we love to feature these great stories and hope they become great films that we get to show. And, the festival is in November, and it's even got a little bit of a holiday theme. So welcome, Scott, for joining me to talk about this.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So yeah, you got the award nomination for Best Romantic Comedy Screenplay, and I don't want to give away the story, so I'm going to go ahead and let you give me the synopsis of this one.
Okay, well, I don't know if I still have you or not. Did I lose you? I think we're still there.
I am here.
You're here. Good. So this was my first foray into writing. I'll call it a Hallmark format, and I did that on purpose to try to just kind of stretch what I would normally write. And used a formula from Bob Saenz, who's a well-known writer for Netflix and Amazon and Hallmark and Lifetime. And it was an interesting concept. I went into it with not exactly knowing what I wanted to do. I actually my personal writing style is I start with the title, and so I was trying to find a title, and I came up with 3 or 4 titles that, in Hallmark, you've seen one, you've seen them all. And so I came up with a title that I thought would work, and I looked it up, and it had already been used, and the next one had already been used, and the next one had already been used, and I was like, oh my goodness. But I finally came up with the Carols at Christmas, and then playing on the word carols. There's 2 carols in my screenplay. One is Carole with an E, and one is Carole without an E. Which is how I'm differentiating them. And it's just a romantic comedy. Carole from Nashville comes to a small town in Missouri to be the judge of a Christmas film festival. It's Hallmark. You have to have a Christmas festival, Christmas music festival, and you have to have a Christmas festival. And so I decided that I would make that kind of the main approach. Of course, there's going to be a love interest that the one Carole falls in love with, but the other Carole that's already in town kind of has a relationship with him in the past, and so there's that conflict, and thus the Carols at Christmas. But the structure, again, being a 9-act format, was a whole new situation, and it is very precise and very specific, like to the page number, to the partial page number that you have to have, your certain stops for, which would be commercials and stuff.
Sure.
And so having to work within that particular writing situation was a whole new thing for me. So that was interesting. I tend to, like I said, find the title first, and then write accordingly. And of course, as you go along, the story develops and evolves and changes. And I got totally done, and I asked a friend of mine who's an actress to come to our studio here and just to read it and to tell me what she thinks, because I needed a female perspective. It's for Hallmark or GAC Family or whatever. And she said it was good. She says the ending, she says, I think you could go one more level of turmoil at the end. And so I was like, okay, I think I can do that. So I went back, actually rewrote the entire Act 8 and Act 9 again, and then adjusted the stuff that needs to be adjusted at the beginning to make that happen. But I just think it gives it one more level of that conflict. Yeah, but it's a fun, and I grew up in Missouri, by the way, in a small town. And so I made it set in Missouri because that's kind of what I know, and which is close to Nashville anyway. And yeah, that was just kind of a fun and exciting exercise to stretch me out of what I would normally write.
How do you come up with your characters? Are you envisioning someone first, or are you kind of writing blank slates? Like, what are you doing?
So recently, I've been writing some other things. I'm writing one right now for we film a show. There's a set behind me. We film a show here called Offsides, which is starring Kevin Farley, which is Chris Farley's brother from Saturday Night Live. And Kevin's a comedian, and just happened to move to my hometown here, and was doing a podcast. And so working on a thing with him that I'm envisioning him obviously as a lead character. So it's been new to be able to write something, not for Carols at Christmas, of course, but for a different situation. It's been fun to be able to envision who that person would be as I write. And I like that. But normally I'm kind of more of a generic person. In fact, a little secret that I'll tell you: when I'm writing, I actually, before I name the characters, I will name my main character Main, and that friend of my main character is Friend, and that's the depth that, yeah. But and then go back later after I've established a little bit more and kind of be able to name those characters. And so, yeah, usually I'm not thinking of a particular person, just a generic person in that age range. But I do have, there's some thoughts of, especially if it's on a particular channel or something, you can kind of, okay, these are some of the people who you would normally have be in that that character role. So, yeah, that's how I do it.
All right. Well, you mentioned that set behind you. What else you got going on in the future? What are you working on?
Oh my goodness. Well, so we're also working on there's another person I happened to meet through a different film festival whose daughter, the daughter that I met, her father is a lead singer of a pretty well-known band from the 80s, and it's a religious band, so not as many people know it, but it's still pretty prominent that even people that aren't religious might recognize the name. And so we got to talking, and she's like, hey, I would like to write a thing about my dad, and so we've been working on that one, and working with her, and that one's a whole other interesting concept, because that's writing something that's true, but how much do you include? What do you include? What do you not include? What's important? What's not important? Some of those entities are still around today, and we have to kind of watch out for legal stuff and logistics stuff, and so that's another one that's fun. Something that I'm the most excited about is I'm finishing up a script now called The Czar of Hollywood, and it is a musical. I wrote the screenplay for this musical, probably started like 12 or 13 years ago, because I'm that old. And now I just a few years ago, I was like, this would make a good stage play musical for theater. And it just happens to be that my father has been a high school theater teacher for the past 42 or 43 years or something like that. So I called him in, and my daughter, who's 20, is a phenomenal musician and vocalist and songwriter. And so the three of us have been writing a 3-generation stage play based on my screenplay. And all original music. We were actually fortunate enough to have Jessica Vosk, who played Elphaba in Wicked on Broadway. She came and sang one of our songs for us. And here in the studio, it was amazing, blew us away. It was so cool. And it's just neat to hear the stuff that you've done brought to life, just, as in a film situation or even in a recorded situation as a soundtrack or a demo for theater. So that one is really close to being done. We have a song that's not quite finished, and we have there's always that part in the second act where it could be tweaked a little bit better. So we're still in that process of tweaking it, but I'm excited. There's a lot of cool things on a lot of different fronts, and also working on a sci-fi adventure rom-com that is a new genre for me. That's not my normal genre of sci-fi, and so but a lot of research that got to do on that one. And as you can tell, I'm doing a ton of things all at once, but that's how I prefer to do it, because if you just stick to one thing, you probably get done faster if you do that. But then it's kind of boring. So I like to bounce around on purpose, and as I get ideas for things, and I go straight to that screenplay, straight to the page, and pick up right where I left off. And I know my characters, I know my story, I know where I'm going, and I just enjoy that process.
Sure. Well, this has been super interesting, and get things done. What is that? It's like you have so many irons in the fire. Sometimes it's hard to balance it all, but you're right. I kind of live in that same chaos myself, just trying to always have something on the burner and always have something to do. So,
yeah.
Well, it's been great talking to you, Scott. Is there anything you want to add before we go?
I'm happy to have electricity back. That's for sure. We got blown away in the Hurricane Ian, direct hit on us, but our studio survived. My home's a little wary for wear, but actually during the storm, 8-9 days of not having electricity, I was able to charge the battery in the computer with my car, and just wrote. So it was actually a good time to just kind of focus and refocus and rewrite, and had a great time. Looking forward to the festivals that are coming up. Some of your stuff that's coming up. That's awesome.
All right. Well, thanks. Hopefully, we'll get to meet at a future event when your schedule clears up. And we'd love to have you. The judges in Portland are definitely impressed with your work. So we appreciate you sending it to us.
Very good. I appreciate the nomination.
No worries. Have a good one.